Welcome to the Irish Pagan School podcast. Your hosts are authors and co-founders of the Irish Pagan School here in County Waterford, Ireland, Laura O'Brien and Jon O'Sullivan. Fáilte.
The conversations about gender, sexuality, and neurodiversity have their place in what we teach at the Irish Pagan School. Well, Dagda Yi Agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. It's Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And this is both an interesting one, a challenging one, and yeah, it's an opportunity really for me to settle in and educate, to share some perspective and maybe give some insights and help people challenge their views on things or easily identify that we're not the teachers they want to be engaging with and to take themselves elsewhere. So we work really, really fucking hard. God, like honestly, folks, it takes a lot of effort and energy to turn up and to build not just the education that we provide, but also the community, the support, the structures, the recognition, the TUA, the word, the tribe that we use is tribe, TUA, and make sure it's a safe, accepting, and inclusive space. So recently, we do a lot of effort and energy. We put a lot of effort and energy in supporting our minority groups in our areas. And we sent out some content about how we have supported people in our local Pride Month here, Pride of the Daoise down in Waterford. The responses we got from just acknowledging who we are as people and as individuals, as much as educators and teachers in Irish mythology, folklore, myth, and spirituality, in some ways was great. In other ways was endemic of the problem that we have in our world at the moment, which is one of, well, yeah, I was going to use stronger words, but I'm going to err on the side of benefits of doubt and say moderate intolerance or ignorant discomfort. So this kind of came up, and I'm not naming names. I won't do that in any way, shape, or form. But essentially, Laura and I work really fucking hard to provide this kind of content, but we're also people. And a big part of what we do and why we educate in the way that we do is so that people can connect with us as individuals. It's not a case that you're sitting behind, I'm simply sitting behind some kind of fake identity or some presented ritual persona. I'm me. I share about my experiences. When I teach about the Dagda, I include my personal experiences with the Dagda. When I write about him, I write about how I've had to figure my shit out in dealing with that. When I write about the challenges of my community, it is about me and my lived experiences. When I write about getting lost in the fucking woods, having experiences with the other crowd, hearing the wheels of the death coach, being chased by a cushy dark hound in the night, all of those things are my personal experiences that I share with people because I want them to understand or to engage or to have some recognition that they are not alone in pursuing their own spirituality. This isn't a show. This isn't a sham. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to educate. But the only way I can educate effectively is if I educate authentically. And authentically means being me, being fully me, being present in our community spaces, being present in what I do as ethically, openly, and honestly as I can be, pointing out my fucking mistakes, showing you that I'm as human as you are. I'm no better than anyone else. And I'm a good deal worse than most in some ways. But I've been working on that for a long fucking time to be better. So when we get emails about, oh, I don't want to know about sexuality or gender preferences, it's nothing got to do with paganism. Or we get emails slightly more toned in such a way, but still tone policing. Well, there is value in those conversations, but don't muddy the content in the Irish Pagan School. Surely that should be somewhere else. It bothers me. It really does bother me. And it bothers me on a number of different reasons. It doesn't bother me that, oh, someone's telling me what to do or what not to do. I can pass beyond that because to a certain degree, people outside of Irish culture have always been trying to tell people of Irish culture what they should and shouldn't be doing. what they should and shouldn't worship, how they should or shouldn't present themselves, the language they should and shouldn't speak, which is why I'm speaking Os Berla in the Tongan and Sassenach, the language of the English, as opposed to in Gaeilge, the language of my island. My father was brutalized when he used Irish in school. Living memory, folks. But again, I can get beyond people having opinions. Fine. When opinions are targeting marginalized individuals, it's no longer just an opinion. It's part of the intolerance. It becomes part of the overall narrative that others people, that pushes people outside of where they should be accepted. And we're vocal about it because it's important for us to be accepting. Like it's not a case that we presume that everyone is just going to get on. It's not a case that we just allow people to live their lives in their own way. The problem with that is the majority of people are able to completely ignore the plight of minority people, regardless of it minority based on gender or sexual preference or ethnicity or culture or skin color, or any other fucking number of reasons that we have to other people, to other humans, and try and deny them access to information, deny them access to community, deny them access to acceptance and love. It's not just, oh, I'm just expressing a small opinion here. You're adding on your personal pebble to the landslide that those people are already inundated under. The landslide of intolerance. And based on ignorance, to be honest. So thank you, I suppose, for presenting me with this opportunity. Thank you for presenting me with this opportunity to say, as gently as possible, go fuck yourself. Or if you would find that upsetting, or you don't think that that applies to you, then sit down, join in the conversation, ask yourself why it bothers you. Consider for a moment, outside of your personal experience, what it's like for a minority individual to be denied acceptance of their existence. Is that part of Irish paganism? Well, Irish paganism is an expression of spirituality. Spirituality is an expression of a human condition. We are humans. Follow the logic. If someone is gay, that doesn't mean they can't be Irish pagan. If someone is trans, doesn't mean they can't be Irish pagan. Should we ignore the narrative of hate and intolerance that happens? If someone is a person of color, that doesn't mean they can't be Irish paganism. Can't share in or express. If someone doesn't even have Irish fucking DNA, does not mean they can't engage ethically and honorably in Irish paganism. It is a spiritual pathway for someone to grow and develop themselves. Providing othering language or accepting othering language or putting up barriers and barricades or blockages about, well, obviously you're not Irish enough to boggles the mind. It really does. And oh no, I'm just expressing my opinion. Yeah, but the problem is your opinion is the extra straw on top of every other fucking straw that camel has to carry. It is the extra cut of the 1,000 cuts that someone in that minority group suffers every single fucking day. It's not just your opinion. Or if it is just your opinion, then you might need to consider changing your opinion because it's doing harm. I'm a cishet white man. That's not a bad thing. That's not a negative thing. That's just a definition. Those are just pieces of information that people can see and accept, oh, well, that is how you would define. My Laura, my partner, is a gender fluid, non-binary individual who identifies as woman, identifies with she, they pronouns. Asking us to not speak about gender recognition is asking Laura to deny Laura's nature, is asking me to not function as a proper healthy ally and deny my partner's nature. We support Pride. Great. Pride is about recognition of minority people, supporting those narratives and making space for everyone to be included and accepted for who and how they are. Is that radical? Is that like madness? Is that terrible things to happen in this world? Does that not have its place in Irish paganism? It does have its place in Irish culture, because you know who were ignored, ostracized, othered, denied access to everything, even the recognition of basic support and healthcare, and or basic recognition of work and ability to kind of live and carry on their life day to day, was the Irish. Anyone descended from an Irish person outside of this country is descended from a fucking survivor. That makes them descended from a fucking legend in my mind. But when they went out of this country, they became the minority. Wherever they ended up, they were the minority. They were othered. They were ostracized. They were put aside. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So do you think for a fucking minute that Irish people or people accept, like claiming descent from Irish people, should allow for intolerance? Should allow for hate? Should allow others to be marginalized and ignored? No, we shouldn't. We don't. Now, I'm speaking for me and mine. I don't speak for all of Ireland. Not yet, anyway. Who knows? But if you are claiming, or if you are descended, or if you are fascinated about, interested in, or engaging in your Irish ancestry, Irish spiritual practices, whether you have ancestry or not, then you need to get on board with the message of the Irish cultural influence that has had its impact all around the fucking world. You need to get on board with the fact that Ireland is pro-Palestine. You know why? Because the English are the ones who fucked over Palestine. And you know what they used to do it? Everything they learned by doing it to the Irish first. That is history. That is fact. So don't come at me and tell me that there is no place for politics in Irish cultural expression, Irish spiritual expression. Don't come at me and tell me there's no place for discussion about inclusivity, acceptance, and acknowledgement of marginalized people in Irish practices, Irish culture, and Irish spirituality. Or if you do disagree with me, which you're entitled to do, that's fine. There's a whole other world of information out there. Go find it. Or, as I invited you earlier, sit down with me. Ask yourself the questions. Why am I uncomfortable about this? Why do I think this doesn't have a place in Irish expression, Irish culture, Irish spirituality? Because then you might find answers. Then you might be able to go beyond the history or the narrative that's been presented to you and learn more. Because that's what it's about at the end of the day. We are educators. And I hold no fucking grudge against people who want to come. I hold no problem with someone who makes a mistake and wants to carry on doing it. I love that. That is exactly why I'm fucking here. One of the mottos that we go by in all of our work is Maya Angelou. Do the best you can, but when you know better, just do better. Someone who was a marginalized person, someone who was a person of color, someone who was denied their rights, denied their existence. I will absolutely 100% use all of my voice, all of my platform, all of my privilege to speak against the hate, to speak against the intolerance, and to speak against the ignorance and the entitlement to say, I'd prefer to only have you talk about this stuff and maybe put that stuff over there outside of what? Outside of centering it where it should be, outside of including it at the table with all of the other expressions of Irish culture, spirituality, mythology, history, and everything fucking else. I sent one of the emails that triggered this was talking about some really fascinating Irish queer history that I learned at an event in Pride. I learned about Dr. Barry, who was a medical professional, served in the Queen's Army because that we were a very much colonized person, served in multiple wars, taking care of like triaging people, doing surgery, keeping people alive. And when they died, it was found out that, they did not seem, their biology did not seem to conform with their gender. And it was apparently a big fucking scandal and all the rest of it, right up until they went to the medical examiner who examined the Dr. Barry and said, it was never a fucking issue to me. He was one of the most fantastic gentlemen I've ever known. And he came from Kilkenny. Why does the narrative make people uncomfortable? Well, because they don't know enough. Maybe they need to be educated more. Maybe they need to just to allow people to be people, allow people to live their lives. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean take the information and put it away out of your comfort zone. If it is outside of your comfort zone, if you are made uncomfortable about it, don't tell me not to talk about it. Ask yourself why you're uncomfortable. I'm not here to answer that for you, but maybe there is an opportunity for you to figure that out and grow for yourself. So, ranty as this may be, again, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking to this, because Laura and I will always speak for marginalized people. Laura and I will always use our platform to engage in education and awareness. Laura and I will always use our privilege, our voice, and our power to speak for those who are not able to speak for themselves at times. I did a video about community. I don't hate people who have problems with our community. I don't hate people who, come with their opinions that differ to my opinions. I have no problem with that at all. But when I compare you wanting to have your opinion and your say to all of the people who have been marginalized, upset, hurt, or abused by a society that refuses to recognize them based on something as a love preference, based on something as a gender identity, based on something as their ethnicity. All of those people are welcome in our community, and all of those people are behind me. So disagree with me all you want, that's no problem. But if you're going to come in and cause hurt and harm to these vulnerable people behind me, you and I are going to have a problem. And our problem might be as far as, I'm sorry, you're not welcome, go elsewhere. Fine, like look after yourself, take care. Or if you don't want to, if you want to come harder against it, then yeah, I will go as far as telling you to go fuck yourself. Simple as. There is far too much intolerance in our world. There's not enough acceptance. People in power put so much effort into dividing communities, dividing us, telling us the refugees are coming, telling us the people on the other side of the country or the people down in a different country, or telling us that the neighbors down there, or telling us what is this fucking narrative if not just a narrative of control? What is all of the purpose of this if not just to destabilize individuals so that they feel fearful of their job, their housing security, their financial security, their health? Destabilize someone enough, they will do exactly what you want them to do, which is to keep you in power because you give them reassuring language. destabilize them enough, then they will do exactly what you want them to do, which is steer the energy and effort of their entire existence into hating people as opposed to taking down the power structures which are profiting from their effort. Calling out the intolerances, the calling out the hate, calling out the lack of services, the lack of support. I'm getting too far into this and I'm winding myself up into a different rant or ramble that I don't think we have the space for there today. So I will loop it back around and I will say thank you very much. Again, opportunity to speak to this. Marginalized people will always have our support in the Irish Pagan School because the Irish have always been marginalized outside of their country and even inside of their country in some ways too. But Irish isn't an Ireland is an ethnicity. It's not a bloodline. It's not a hair color. It's not a fucking skin color. Irish is an expression of culture and art and location. It's an ethnicity to our definition. And regardless of your surname, regardless of your bloodline, regardless of your great 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 grandfather out of Mayo or whatever, if you want to follow an Irish pagan path, please feel free to do so. But understand that that does involve learning the history, understanding the culture, and embracing some things that you might be uncomfortable about. It's the only way to do it honestly, ethically, and to grow in the right directions. So, from me, I will wrap off by saying thank you very, very much. If you'd like to know more, we have a year's worth of free teaching available for you. Great resources, great kind of books. irishpagan.school/free. And if you feel that you want to have a conversation about stuff further, if you have a question you'd like me to speak to, put it in the comments. Because I'm happy to have dialogues. I'm happy to educate around these kind of things. I don't want to leave people in ignorance. And if I'm wrong about something, yeah, let me know. I will do the reading. I will do the self-education because, as I said earlier, I want to know better so that I can simply just do better. Gaurav Magath, August Lawn. Goodbye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a positive review in your podcast listener. Then head over to irishpaganschool.com and enroll in one of our free or paid courses. Slán go fóill, and we will see you next time.